Hey, welcome to the Doc Analyzes Anything, the show where psychology and science meet. And we explain human behavior, any human behavior, including tapping your phone to make sure it's in your pocket while it's still actively in your hand. I feel like that's akin to like looking for your sunglasses while they're on your head.
Yeah.
That's just the normal daily activity. I feel like for a majority of us, I feel like if you're handling a lot of different things at one time, so often I'll try to be leaving my apartment and then do exactly that, where I'll be looking around for my phone for a solid 30 seconds to a minute and then ping it just to realize it's in the hand that even my watch is on.
Wow.
Yeah. There's a professor at one of the conferences. He throws one of the conferences we go to. I'm not going to call him out by name without inviting him to comment back because he has a good sense of humor. He'd enjoy it. But you will often see him with two pairs of what I assume are reading glasses on his head. And I always figured it's like because he put one up, lost it, and grabbed another pair. But it could be that they have different functions, and I just don't know that. And so either way, I like to think that it is very much that I can't find my glasses, so I grabbed another pair of glasses, and now I have two at all times.
There's very few shows that me and my kids all agree on, but America's Funniest Home Videos is one of them, and that's a very common staple. Is like the little kid saying, "Where's my whatever?" And it's just right. They're just holding it. I'm like, I can't find my toy, and it's right there.
I almost feel like nowadays there's like keys, wallet, phone. Like check my pockets before I walk out the door, and like the routine is almost like the Catholic cross, like the testicles, spectacles, wallet, and watch. Or I think I said
Right.
it's spectacles, testicles, wallet, and watch, according to
Yeah,
what that was Austin Powers.
that's right. That's right.
Yeah. So
And that though, you say how you always have the routine. Are you guys like super habitual with which pockets hold which items?
absolutely. Wallet and
No,
keys in the right pocket, phone in the left, because
I'm the
if you accidentally
opposite.
put the keys in the phone pocket, you might scratch up or crack your phone. So I
For
always
me,
make
I
sure.
keep the phone in the right pocket because I'm being right hand dominant, that it's already there. So then do you pull it out with your left hand and then transfer your phone to your right hand?
Yeah, I do that, and mostly I think because I want to be ready to grab someone if they're trying to steal my wallet, compared to if they're trying to steal my phone.
Man, all right, I'm over here playing checkers and you're playing chess.
next time we hang out in person, I'm going to successfully steal your wallet, Steve. You just
Probably,
wait.
but there is that is the reason I have it bulging out of my front pocket rather than putting it in my back pocket. Is I can see it more clearly if someone's going for my pocket.
Do you guys use your back pockets?
No,
I don't. I get
I was about to say,
sciatica. I get sciatica really bad.
aging yourself.
Mm-hmm.
I've had sciatic issues since middle school when I got speared playing football. But I noticed like a lot of, and maybe it's not just ladies, but it seems like mostly ladies that put their phone in their back pocket. I'm like, I would forget and destroy that phone immediately if I put it back there.
Well, and that's my thought too, is I feel like in the back pocket, things are much more likely to fall out. And even if you just sit down, like it can't be comfortable. Like imagine sitting down with like keys in your back pocket. Wallet, I could see.
I mean, at that point, I might as well just be keystring it. You know what I mean? Like, what's the point here?
This is a recurring theme here. I've learned this phrase, and now I'm being reintroduced to this phrase over and over.
If you've not seen Get Hard, just watch
the
Get Hard.
phrase, though? It's the
all
fifth
right.
pocket, if you will.
Nature's pocket.
Boy.
So, hello everyone. I am your host, Dr. Steven Sparks. Almost forgot my name for a moment, so there you go. Today with my all but last time or 2 times ago co-host Kyle Sturry, because someone was sick on us.
I'm back, baby.
Our often, most of the time, co-host Dr. Bradley Manuel Clements. And today we're going to be talking about common sayings, idioms, those things that we just say and don't even know where their origins are or where they came from, what the point is. We'll get a little behavior analytic with us, but the last couple have been pretty science heavy, so we thought we'd give you a little bit of a break there. And I think a lot of times we think we know where these sayings come from. We get the idea of where they come from, or we hear rumors where they come from that are just completely off the wall, don't make sense, not correct, that sort of thing. And so we'll take a little jaunt down memory lane for some of these things. Some of them have been around for a long time, but also just to put it out there that some of these were very much, as I was looking them up, speculative where they came from. There's not necessarily a clear history, where others they do know seemingly. And so some of them are like, hey, this university put out this fun, entertaining, like, history on 10 or 15 of these things. And then others were like, yeah, the best you can do is guess on Wikipedia or something like that. So
Do you
let-
guys speak in phrases much, or?
Often I do.
yeah, sometimes it's just so much easier to use a phrase that gets the point across than to actually describe the situation. And so
Mhm.
I try not to too much, because I like to be much more objective and clear with what I say a lot of the time. But if there's a phrase that just makes it that much easier, or if it's a topic that people may not be as comfortable with, or I don't understand quite as well, being able to compare it to something and using like a metaphor just makes it that much easier for people to understand if it's not in their wheelhouse. So
I
Do you guys
say
have
I
a
say
favorite?
I say count. I use them interchangeably. I don't know if it's cut your losses or count your losses. I say that one.
you cut your losses.
Cut.
Yeah.
I learned
Well, and that's
something
another
new.
thing too, actually, that's an interesting thing to bring up, is how many of these phrases, like, we use them, and I know I've done it with plenty of them, where you mean to say it, but you don't say it properly, and then, like, does it still come across the same? Like, do they still know what you're talking about, even though the fact that how you've slightly altered it, that it has interpreted completely differently?
And it's something that I have referred to in a paper I wrote called Contingency Stray. I actually wanted to call it uh, contingency decay. So contingency, the before condition, the behavior, the after condition, or the antecedent, the behavior, the consequence. And the idea is, especially with verbal behavior, over time, the way we say things, if it's still reinforced by the verbal community as a whole, then it'll continue to be strengthened in our repertoire, even though it's incorrect. And so, as long as it's close enough, the original contingency will break down. And we know that, at least in behavior theory, the least amount of behavior that will achieve reinforcement is what is going to be strengthened the most. And so you start off with a long saying, you cut it down or adulterate little bits. It is technically like decaying or breaking down the original contingency into component parts. But as long as it's still reinforced, then that becomes what is strengthened in the repertoire for the majority of people in society. And so that's probably another episode on language altogether, and kind of like why emojis are acceptable now and they never were. Partially because it's on phones, but partially because it's the least amount of effort. But I've said this before and I'll say it again. If you get a message from me with an emoji, I have been kidnapped and someone else has my phone, and call the authorities immediately, because I do not use emojis.
I will.
Even just sometimes interpreting your text doc is like, I never know how to take your emotion with
Yes.
with your response of what you're saying, because you don't use exclamation points, like, even just general, like, grammar you lack sometimes. Or even, like,
Listen.
if you say something that could be interpreted as, like, you're either being lighthearted or you're being, like, fully serious, that's where the occasional LOL comes
Yeah,
in.
absolutely not. I will not cut it. I will literally write laugh out loud, and that just sounds weird. So I'm not doing that either. But first of all, I use punctuation in my text, so that throws people off. But like commas and periods, and a colon, not gonna do an exclamation point. That's too exciting for me.
Come on,
First,
Steve.
second of all,
Yeah,
you
see, that's
also
how
talk about.
I make people know. It's like, if you ask me a question over text, I just say, yeah. It's like a very monotone, but I always throw the exclamation point on, so you know I'm like a excited, yeah.
Yeah, no, and, like, you make fun of me
Yeah,
already
no.
for being monotone and not showing excitement in my voice. What, I'm gonna start doing that in text, but not in real life? Like, no, that's not me.
We're here
Uh,
saying you should.
I'm saying that if that happens, call the authorities.
I'm
Uh,
going back to your getting the idiom incorrect. I'm not about to reinforce anybody's saying for all intensive purposes, because that is not only wrong, but it is a real pet peeve of mine.
Yeah.
Intensive purposes and nip it in the butt.
Intense.
You ever hear people say nip it in the butt?
Yep.
Let's nip it in the bud, right? Let's nip it in the bud. We should
Yes,
know that.
but
We're all adults here.
I don't know. There's
What's
something
the
about people walking around saying "nip it in the butt" like that. Like they're not saying what they think they're saying, and I enjoy that. So I'll let that
well,
one slide.
because we know like what it's used for, but where do we have any backstory on that one?
No, because that was not one of the ones on my list. You guys have already gone
Oh
rogue,
man.
and so I have no idea where that came
No,
from. Look it up while we
I
talk
didn't read
here.
the list yet because you sent it 5 minutes before recording.
Exactly.
we're just
Because
we're
I didn't
keeping this
want you
show
going rogue.
alive, Steve.
No,
Come
no.
on
Look up
now.
what that is while we talk here, and then you can discuss it further.
I'll
Hey,
look it
I'm
up.
giving you the groundwork. Make something out of it.
Pull that phone out of your left pocket and just look it up real quick. I like how I said we're not getting too sciencey in this, and just started off hard and talking about contingency, and yeah, so we're starting off strong here. We're
We're
already
good.
making me a liar. So yeah, some of these I was actually gonna start with, also talking about nursery rhymes, like some of the background to that, but I ended up finding so many of these that I'm like, all right, we'll just stick to just idioms and common sayings, and we'll talk about the origins of nursery rhymes and stuff there later, because as Dr. Brad mentioned last night as we were talking, uh some of them, like Ring Around the Rosie, everybody believes dates back to the plague. According to everything I could find, there's actually no tie in that. Like the idea that dates back to the plague didn't actually come about until the 1940s that anybody can find.
Oh,
Oh,
interesting.
yeah, well, that's kind of like the same feel for some of these things, except um not necessarily as well. I mean, some of it might be as dark. Like rule of thumb, everybody talked about how that was a racist potential saying because of how they tied it into back during slavery. But everything I can find suggests that all that really means is early carpenters, before they had really good measuring equipment, would use their thumb to measure things to be consistent in their measurements. And so
Mm, interesting
maybe there
because of
is,
the fact that like the thumb isn't too large and
I mean,
carpentry
if you,
work can be quite extensive.
yes, but I think, you're talking probably about laborers too, and they probably use their feet and other things as well. But if you're measuring a small board, and all right, my thumb isn't quite an inch long, but it's around an inch long, that like, and my thumb's not changing in size, at least you can get the four sides around the same length. You know what I mean?
A carpenter's thumb might. They slam their thumbs quite frequently.
Not if they're any good. Uh,
If your carpenter shows up and their measurements are slightly off because of the variation in their thumb size, you're
to
questioning that.
I will admit, you are going to injure yourself doing carpentry work or anything like that. But if you come walking in with like bandages all over your hand because you can't stop hitting yourself with a hammer, I'm going to assume you don't have enough experience to do the job I'm hiring you for. All right. That's just general guess on my end.
I found a much darker origin of rule of thumb that you haven't discussed yet. According to Wikipedia, it may have its which is very, very scientific. You said you
Yeah.
weren't going to get too scientific. It dates back to in the 1700s, a husband could use a rod to discipline his wife with a rod no bigger than his thumb, no
So,
wider
and
than his thumb.
that was what I was alluding to, but not getting into. That was also the rumor, what it meant back into to slavery as well.
Oh,
And then what
gotcha.
I learned, and if I could find after that, is there's no evidence of it actually being tied to those things.
Oh,
That
interesting.
the suggestion is just back before there was consistent measuring equipment. So I guess we should be careful there because it is still out there that maybe there's something to that, but it is not
Sure.
a clear line that's definitely that dark side of things. And that was just the example, like Ring Around the
Yeah,
Rosie, maybe
gotcha.
being plague related, maybe not. So
I had always heard the ring around the rosy thing. That was that was where, like, I think taught in school that dated back to the plague, even.
Well, even that, I was telling Steve about it a little bit last night, is the term plague gets thrown around very loosey goosey now because
Oh,
you
that's an
associate
idiom.
it. Huh?
yeah.
Oh,
Loosey goosey.
well, But because it's thrown around as like any type of ailment that is going amongst a group of individuals, they'll say, "Oh, there's a plague, it got hit," but because the plague is like a very specific type of disease, but it's just not used like that anymore. Or it's sorry, that was
It's yeah, it was a very specific time. The Black Death, the plague, was very
the
specific.
bubonic to be exact, because
Yes,
even if
yeah.
you're going into plague, there's I think 3 different types of what is the plague, because there's bubonic, respiratory, and then there's one other that I am blanking on what it is.
So
But I
just
can sure
because
tell you the bacteria that causes it.
I could look it up. So based on just because you threw it out there, Loosey Goosey, supposedly the background for that one is um back in like the 60s and 70s saying like, oh, I'm loose as a goose, man. Like just chill out, relax.
That's
And
70s.
maybe even can be tied to a I think it was a children's series back in that time. Let's see what it's I just lost it, of course.
Which it's funny, while you're looking up, I just want to say this part too, because we all know geese. Like geese are not the friendliest of creatures,
No,
and
geese suck.
so yeah, and so to use it in that way, loosey goosey, as a way to be laid back, relaxed, and we know geese are
It's
anything but.
it is just because it rhymes, but uh, it was tied to Chicken Little children's story potentially.
Oh
Mm,
yeah, Chicken Little and Loosey
Yeah,
Goosey. Yeah, that's
yeah,
right.
and
Loxy
so
Loxy.
I
I
do not
believe
know.
so. I believe
I
Yeah,
so.
I would be lying if I said I remembered anything other than that Chicken Little exists. So
I play, or there was a video game for the movie that I played a little bit on the GameCube back in the day.
he still plays.
No, I had to get rid of my GameCube last year. After a 20-year span, probably it died. It was a sad, sad day.
I was just playing NES this morning.
Those video games back then were nice because it didn't take 90 hours to beat, and so like you could just play for a little bit and then still go out and play with your friends. Versus now, like you get sucked in. Uh, but because of that, they also don't keep my attention as well as they used to. Like I'd want to play like I remember when I was younger, I'd always want to play Mario without using any of the tune whistles to jump levels. And now I just wanted to hit every level on the way. And now I'd be like, nope, get that done in an hour so I can go
Yeah.
do something else. Like,
My son was playing Mario 3 and he got moderately far into the first world and then he died and he's like, "Wait, I have to start over?" And like, "Yeah,
yeah,
that's them's the ropes,
yeah,
kids. Like you gotta
it
just
was in,
start over."
it
And then
was
he was
intense.
getting decently far and I walked past and I accidentally kicked the controller cord when I walked past and then it like did the flutter and then like froze and like started back at the home screen. He's
Yeah.
like, "Wait, what happened?" I was like, "Sometimes it just resets and you lose all your progress." Like, sorry,
Man,
bro.
that's where anxiety started.
The invention of the memory card for Super
Right.
Nintendo was huge. But you had to choose between that and like the vibrating controller, like 5 other things. Like you couldn't just use them all.
Yep.
Um, all
What's our
right.
next phrase?
How about nickname? Do you know where the idea of nickname came?
No,
Don't.
I'm sure I'm
enlighten
going
us.
I'm sure I'm going to pronounce this incorrectly, but there's a old or ancient word eke, so eek, and
Eek the
it
cat.
was an old word that meant alternative. So eek name just over time was adulterated and slowly became nickname.
Interesting. Eek name.
That I would say that
Yep.
is that contingency stray or contingency decay, if you will, depending on if you actually think of it as decaying or if you just want to say it shifted over time.
Well, and when I was looking
Selection.
up the origin of the nip it in the butt, which I won't get into yet, because I have a feeling that I'll get yelled at if I do. What you keep calling is this decay. Um, I think this might be the more common way of saying it. So, an eggcorn. Have you heard that?
No?
So on Google AI, talking about, and what we're gonna get into, where a common mistake noted as an eggcorn, and then that's defined as a phrase that is misheard and substituted with words that sound similar, but but make less sense in context. But that's what it becomes.
Yeah, that could be like a more common way to describe it. I'm trying to just talk about it scientifically in there's this very specific form, and as that kinds to break down due to people accepting other forms of it, that the actual what we call contingency that controlled that behavior is kind of breaking down, falling apart, and maybe either becoming something new or becoming several different responses that will all be accepted as the same sort of thing. And so I'm talking about like what it actually looks like as it's occurring scientifically. It's the decay of that original into its new parts, kind of like what was is it uranium, one of the uraniums breaks down and decays over time and becomes lead, you know what I mean? And so the existence of lead suggests that the universe must be, I don't know, several billion years old or something like that. In that way of thinking of it scientifically is what I mean by decay. But because it's so specific, others said, just calling it stray because it's just straying from the original, they liked that
Mm,
better. So,
yeah.
um, how about touch wood or knock on wood? You know what that
I
one
say
came
that one
from?
frequently because as I go from the office, I'm not superstitious. I'm just a little stitious. And so anytime that I say something that has the off chance to not be fully true, but leaning on suspicion, knock on wood.
Interesting. Yeah.
Kyle, do you know what it's from? Where
I
that
don't know.
came
I
from?
don't know what it's from. Was it a superstition?
So yes, it was, and I actually didn't know this. Someone brought it up. I was at a behavior analytic conference and someone was, or no, it was community mental health conference, not behavior analytics specifically. And somebody was talking to me and they're like talking about this being an episode idea. And I should have written down their names so I could have given them credit for it. But um, they're talking about how they were talking to a clergyman there from a religious family. And the clergy person said, like, knock on wood. It's like you realize that's from ancient pagan beliefs, right? Like maybe you don't know what you're using there. So it turns out I looked up to double check, and it originates from ancient pagan beliefs, likely Celtic or Germanic, that spirits and gods resided in the trees. And so touching or knocking on the trees was believed to awake them for protection or to thank them for good fortune, and also to like ward off or fend off against the evil spirits that might be around. And so if you're feeling good or thankful, you knock on a tree to thank them. Or if you're worried that you're having some bad luck, knock on one to ask for help, sort of thing.
Do you think if it's the where you're worried about bad luck, do you think you should knock really hard to make sure you wake them up?
I don't know because what if that's offensive? Like someone comes pounding on your door. Sure, they're going to pound if you're really in trouble, but also like, the person in the house might be like, "Hey, what are you doing out there? Cut it out," you know?
I'm imagining that next time I'm worrisome when I knock on the wood, I'm gonna be like your son and when he knocks on doors and just double fist it, pound it really hard to make sure that like they know I mean business.
That, yeah, and also slam every door they come across for
Yes.
fun until someone's finger gets slammed in the door.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
That that happened last week at swimming, and it was not a good time.
Man.
The swim locker door latched on a finger, and so
The going back to the animal spirits thing is a really, I mean, that was like that was medical explanation back in the day too, right? Like too many
it was
animal spirits
basically
or
anything you didn't understand, you couldn't explain, it just kinda seems to happen. It must be spirits, and, like, that is the earliest signs of humanity and spiritualism whatsoever, like, before there was any organized religion, I don't understand this, and you could also look into, like, Native Americans, which where it persisted even after major religions in Europe were starting to be seen, but it's warm this day, I'm gonna thank the sun I am a human. I see humanity in all intelligence that I run into. So there must be this humanoid type being up there that is the sun or the wind or the water. Like, so now I'm attributing what gives me the idea of self to these other objects. And then you can see the same thing with illness, and that'd be good spirits and bad spirits, because especially when we didn't have protections in place as a society, you're probably going to come across more bad things than good. So you'd think the good spirits when things were all right, and then everything else was probably because of these bad ones. You know what I mean?
Was that the practice of like bloodletting, or are those two different things? Like, wasn't bloodletting to let go of like bad spirits in the blood, or was it just more of like the humors? That's what it
The
was.
humors, yeah, the bad humors was
That's right.
part of it. I think the bloodletting probably, and we'd have to look this up, but I think there are times when bleeding actually kind of feels good. You know what I mean? Like I'm sick.
Yeah.
th- I don't mean the act of being injured, but
Steve, should we be worried?
there were times
No.
like when I blood tests or giving blood, and like you actually, it's not like a real euphoric feeling, but there is this numbness, nice kind of feeling. So if you're not feeling well, you lose in a certain amount of blood, not enough to make it dangerous, but enough to let the blood and get the humors, like switch to the good humors from the bad. Can't remember exactly how they talked about it. It
Mm,
likely reinforced some of these activities. And there are actually, I believe, some illnesses where letting blood may have been effective, but it was very far, like few and far between. And they just seemed to, all right, it worked here, so we're going to do this for everything, like the leeches and things like that.
yeah.
Wow.
That's how George Washington died.
Leeches?
No, bloodletting. He lost. He demanded after like a throat infection or like a sore throat or something like that. He demanded the doctors continue letting the blood need his blood to death. Pretty sure.
Well,
I'm pretty sure.
I would say my mother had to be like when I was very little, so I don't remember this, had a bleeding ulcer. And she said, like, it was very dangerous. She was a nurse working in the hospital, so luckily there was people there to help her get her care very quickly. But she said it was this very calming, relaxing, like numbing feeling, like
Mm,
whatever is just like it's just going, you know what I mean? And so there's probably a good part of that, but you'd have to lose quite a bit of blood for that to occur. But
interesting. Yeah.
it sounds like if you're gonna go that as long as you don't feel the injury that's causing the blood loss, it's a fairly painless, pleasant way to go. So at least he potentially went comfortably.
Good.
I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. Maybe
Someone will
that.
have to ask him one day.
Maybe.
All right. Show
Knocking
your
on
true
wood.
colors. Yeah. Show your true colors. What do you know where that one came from?
no. My guess was also where it comes from, like, I don't know, like like a phrase in itself. Like you're claiming something to be red or blue or something like that, but then when like the truth comes out, what you were claiming to be, you were just falsifying, and it's actually a different color.
I mean, that is kind of what we mean now. How about this? If we say it's tied to the idea of a false flag, does that give you enough of a hint?
Oh,
Like,
so like in wartime being like the turncoat or whatever, like they would call it.
or like pirates, like
Pirates,
piracy.
specifically pirates. So they'd have a
Oh,
nation's flag to approach other
Mm,
ships, and then they'd put up the Jolly Roger, or whatever their flag was, right, and show their true colors before they attack.
the quick switcheroo.
Yeah. And again, this is one of those like most likely this is what it's believed it's tied to. There's probably other potential as well, but it is commonly accepted that that is what that is referring to.
Mm.
interesting. I mean,
Which
that seems like the way to do it. If you're gonna pillage, just don't broadcast your arrival super quick.
yeah.
I mean, there's no motors like on the open seas. You have to find a way to get close to people first somehow.
Right.
They're just playing the smart game.
Oh yeah, and it's not like they had a lot of scruples being a pirate. You know what I mean? They're
There
not
you
out
go.
here trying to win friends.
The history of pirates is an interesting one. Uh, like the truth and the lore. I've always been interested in reading more about what we've kind of like fictionalized and what we've actually had to work with like the real practices of like the pirates of old.
Yeah.
What part of it, if you will, tickles your fancy?
Oh, sp- let's first discuss where tickle my fancy comes from.
Steve, do you
I,
have that one
no, but
ready in the
I'm
barrel?
I'm searching it now
Here's
because what
another
I
one, guys. We
assume
can keep it going.
what I'm assuming here is it's got to be not just tickling someone's fancy is what it sounds like. You know what I mean?
But what do you mean?
Either way, all I'll say is that, Brad, if you try to tickle my fancy, I'm calling the authorities. All right, so don't do.
Why do you single me out? Kyle might do it.
Kyle's like
Not
300 miles away.
yeah, not remotely, I'm not.
Well,
Um,
actually, I just want to quickly. I think you've talked about it before, Steve, and I think it had to do with you and your friend Sean, where because you guys are such big people, what would really throw someone off is if you're getting into like a heated debate,
No, no,
like
no.
people are thinking there might be a fight. Okay,
He came up with it was the large guy or fat guy security system where someone's breaking into your house. He and I would just rush out like in our underwear, screaming "tickle, tickle, tickle," and they'd be guaranteed to run away and not rob you. That was his idea.
yeah.
you
So
just have to be
Steve is the one
awake.
we have to watch out for with tickling
We're
someone.
being hired to stay there awake in other people's homes. This is a security system you purchase, okay?
I want to know more.
And there may not have even been underwear involved. It might have been completely naked. I can't remember for sure, but this is a PG-13 show here. Come on, guys.
Yeah. So now tell us about what it was that interested you regarding pirates, Kyle.
Oh yeah, I forgot about this. I mean, there's the classic did these characters actually exist with like the peg leg and the hook for hands and the parrot on their shoulder? Like are these all just small bits and pieces that were thrown into it? Was it just because of the literature of the 19th, 18th century written about it? Like what was it that stuck? You know what I mean?
Mm.
Or caused them to think when I think of a pirate, I've got a certain image in
I'm
my
thinking
head.
Blackbeard.
Yeah, I have
But yeah.
watched specials and and some of these things, and it really was a lot of it just the lack of any authority in these areas. You know, I mean, if you had either merchants or soldiers who are no longer in the military in Europe, they decide to come find the new world in search of riches, or they're being kind of groups of men that are being mistreated by the colonies. And interesting enough, there were some very strong women players back in those days too, which you often don't think of because it was such a male centric time, especially in Europe. But
Mm.
it was nobody's there to stop us. We get a good enough ship, a good enough crew. We can take on any individual ships that come around. And like NASA, like the islands, they just took over basically down the Bahamas
Hmm.
and were running stuff and formed their own like pirate. It wasn't a true government, but power system where you could live in this area kind of together, and then you're competing once you go out. Even though I'm sure there were battles and brawls and destroying each other's ships and whatnot
Like
also.
cannonball fights when you're at sea, but then come 5 o'clock and you're ready to punch out for the day, you come back to port and then just go and hang out with the other individuals.
Yeah, just like Wile E. Coyote and the sheepdog when they punch in and the sheepdog's trying to stop Wile E. Coyote from stealing the sheep, and then they punch out and they're friends again.
Yeah.
Just
Yes.
yeah. Tickling the Fancy, it
Go
looks
on.
like there's
Go on. You have my interest. You have piqued my interest.
it seems to be it's traced at least back to 1774 is the first time anybody knows for sure it was referenced in a book. And tickle figuratively was used to provoke amusement in somebody, and then fancy seems to be a contraction of the word fantasy, and then later became a whim or desire or individual taste. It was used that way. So it is that.
All right.
What is it? Contingency induction that Skinner talked about, where you have the two words that are used in a certain way, or it doesn't have to be words, but then they're combined to be used in a similar but different way. So
Right. That's right.
And you said that the oldest known book was 1774.
yes, but there was some references, and this is just like the idioms.com. I found it on real quick. So I'm not looking at scientific scholarly
I was about to say, is this
sources.
fact checked?
It is. You have to assume a place like the idioms.com aren't going to just put out random BS, but you also can't. It's not peer reviewed. There's
I was about to
no one
say,
there
is it
double
peer
checking.
reviewed?
No. So we'll take it that there is a likelihood that this is really part of it, but who knows for sure.
Hey, knock on
But
wood to be safe. Would that be? Nah, that wasn't right. Cut it. Get rid of that. That was
Nope,
wrong.
that's in there. That's in there.
all I know is the doc meow meow, not me. The doc needs to be careful with his tickling fancies and knocking on wood over here. So
Yeah, be careful.
What?
Watch yourself.
just use your imagination, man. All right.
Yeah, you don't want to actually mix up those two sayings. Tickle the wood. Whoops.
You might get stared at.
Yeah. Let's see. Here's one that you guys probably are aware of. Or at least I was. How about throw the baby out with the bathwater?
Okay, actually, in the 2 minutes that I looked at the overview of this episode and I saw that one, I can 100% say I have never heard of that.
Really?
No.
The saying at all, or just
the
story
saying
behind
at all? That one I thought you made up.
it? Probably isn't as common as it used to, but I've definitely heard it just in normal speech.
Can you say the saying one more time?
It's basically don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. Like you don't want to get rid of the important part of whatever it is you're doing. It's yeah.
I mean, can't that be like the origin, like when dumping the bathwater out of whatever like manual bathtub may have existed when this came? It was just a saying that make sure, just like a humorous saying, like make sure the baby's not in it when you dump it.
Yeah. It was, but it was specific, like back this reference at Victorian times. I don't know how far back it really went, but your middle working class family didn't have easy access to water. There was no running water. You have to go like find a stream or whatever the local water source is, fill the tub with buckets, heat it up so it was, usable. It wasn't freezing. And then the whole family would use that same bathtub. And it usually started with like the parents or the dad and then worked their way down to the youngest. And so, these old, probably not painted porcelain white like you think of nowadays. I believe it was, a tin bathtub often back in those times. So that didn't help with clarity either. Not good lighting. And by the time the baby's using it, it's just dirty, old, cloudy water. And so I don't know that it actually ever happened that the baby was thrown out with the bathwater, but that is the origin of like, don't let the baby go out while you're dumping that dirty old wire. You might not see them very clearly.
Gross.
Yeah.
Gross.
It was bathing was like a weekly or even every 2 weeks type thing back in those days.
Right.
I'm sure the smells were great.
Man, you don't think they put natural oils, lavender extract in their tin baths?
I have no idea, but
maybe a pocket full of posies.
I don't. Ooh, yeah, that probably wouldn't have been common.
I'm sure you were doing something, or it was just acceptable that everybody was going to smell bad most of the time. You know what I mean? I mean, we're also talking about not good plumbing, and so maybe by this point they had taken care of it somewhat, but oftentimes you're looking at streets where people are just throwing any wastewater out into the gutters and that sort of thing. It was probably a smelly time to be alive.
Yeah, I'm thinking about prior to the whole plumbing system and everything, and say you and I are neighbors, and I just see the buckets flying out left and right out of your house. I go, ooh, Steve must have had a little bit too much spicy food last night, or maybe hit the bottle too hard. It's really hitting his gut.
Can you imagine though? Like at that point, you're still gonna have to go refill your bucket to even have water in your home repeatedly. So like, I can't even imagine being willing to be hungover back in those days. I'm not willing to be hungover nowadays, really, but back then that would just be really rough.
That's a good point. There are, I wonder what old remedies there were to something like that, because it doesn't seem like you could go get a Gatorade.
Drinking more.
Eat a McDonald's hamburger.
The cure for that.
A McDonald's hamburger.
Good old Ronnie's.
Saying.
Gotta love Ronnie.
Here's one that you may know. How about hit the hay?
I would make the assumption that you hit the hay because like old time beds, or even if you just slept in the barn or whatever, but the mattresses would be filled with things such as hay, feathers, anything
Yeah.
along the lines to provide some amount of a cushion.
Yeah, hay was, I think, a
I like that.
preferred thing for people at least who did not have a lot of money back in the day. Here's one I can almost, I don't know, unless you've heard the story before, I can almost guarantee you do not know. Why is it that when you go out party hard, you're painting the town red?
This was
Oh,
like a this was like a dark origin story, right?
Dark-ish. It's not as bad as it sounds like it could be, but it was still a night of wildness.
I thought it had to do with like murders or something like that.
No, no.
I think you've talked about this one actually in a previous episode, Steve.
I don't think so because I didn't remember it until I looked it up.
Really? All right, so you paint the town red. Does it have anything to do with what's it called, with like, I mean, literally like painting, like doing graffiti stuff? Does that anything like that?
Pretty
Doing
close.
graffiti stuff. Oh, it does? Oh, I like that Brad said doing graffiti stuff.
Yeah. We'll
What is
let
that? I
everybody.
mean, what would that have a better definition than just because it's not, it's vandalism.
Well, in this case, it was. That it could be art or
tagging.
vandalism, depending on.
Tagging.
Yeah. So supposedly, but everybody at least can and kind of trace it back to. There's no other suggested story behind this, so everybody kind of just accepts it. But after one legendary night of drunkenness, the Marquis of Waterford in 1837, known as this is quoted, a lush and mischief maker. He and a bunch of friends were out partying hard, and they're knocking stuff down, breaking stuff in, like, on the streets. And they literally went and, painted several doors and houses red while wasted, just out partying hard.
Oh,
So
that
they
was
later,
literally
Any
it.
particular reason,
so
like they use it as a mark for like that's where they'd
Nope.
been like partying?
nope, they were just out there being mischievous, breaking things. They're like, you know what? We got this red paint. Let's go use it. So they ended up like,
Because painting doors is what I do when I'm hammered on the town.
I had a friend who got in trouble for spray painting some buildings, and like this guy would have done tagging for real. He was a great artist, but this was just drunk and just painting on things. And so, but anyways, they ended up. I think they were mostly wealthy families. Went and fixed things afterwards. But ever since, a night of heavy partying was called that. It sounds like they also painted a swan statue red. So
Nice. I'm all for it. I like it.
Yeah. I
Let's
do
let's
enjoy
let
a lot of
everyone
the
know we were
graffiti
here.
art. What'd you say?
I said, let's let everyone know that we're here. This will be our thing. It's like the Sticky Bandits.
The wet bandits.
one time I was out during college, and I don't know, I danced around the streets, going bar to bar or whatever, and I decided I was going to swing around a sign, like a street sign, and didn't realize that this wasn't like what you'd expect from a street sign, where it's like drilled down and cemented into the ground. It was bolted. So I swung around it and like looked at my hand. All of a sudden, I just have this entire street sign in my hand. So I gently just placed it on the ground and ran away quickly. So
Well done. Well done.
Another phrase you just said, dancing around the town. Were you actually dancing? Just waltzing?
at this point, I
from
was
one bar to
literally
the other?
skipping around dancing with people. We were acting a fool in undergrad, and I literally tried to swing around a pole, except it just came loose in my hand. So yes, I am using the term literally in this point. Here's one you probably know: Mad as a Hatter. You've heard this one before, right?
I mean,
Yeah.
I'm familiar with the Mad Hatter from like
This one I
Alice.
believe I know. Wasn't the dye or the chemicals used in hatting actually slightly poisoned, and so hatters would often become quote unquote
Yeah.
mad?
Yeah, it would create mental illness. 18th and 19th centuries in the felt making process for making hats used mercury, so they get mercury poisoning,
Mercury.
and they'd start acting erratic and came up with the phrase "mad as a hatter." So
Wow. Mercury. What would Mercury do?
I don't know what the actual process is, but I do know that, like, my parents would talk about in their day, like, you just get some mercury and it's an interesting form, and so you, like, let it roll around in your hands and play with it, not even knowing that it was dangerous enough, but
What? Are you
yes.
serious?
Yeah.
You could
Like,
just
they just
buy mercury, like, you just have it.
yeah.
Ah,
I mean, it
I
is
mean,
very
like,
interesting. It makes me think of the Wizard of Oz stuff with the asbestos, like just like how many things were used back in the day that were so toxic, but
yeah.
no one knew any better, and so here they are using asbestos as so, and then
Yeah, I remember, seeing, like, ads for them using asbestos as cigarette filters to try and make them healthier, and, like,
All
it
right.
was just used for everything back then. We'd have to look up the actual, what the physiological cause of mercury poisoning is, like, what it does to the body, um,
Yeah.
but it real quickly, Cleveland Clinic says it just the compound that reacts negatively or your body reacts negatively to. So I don't know why or what or how it actually interacts with your cells, but uh it's not something to let the kids play with anymore. Is really what we should end it with.
Fair. Very fair.
All right. How about let's see, barking up the wrong tree.
I cheated and I saw this one, the
How
explanation,
dare
Oh,
so
you?
you
I will
would.
have to
How
abstain from commenting.
how dare you?
I would say I don't know if this has anything to do with, like, a dog barking as much as it does, like, tree bark. But that's my quick take on it.
That is exactly wrong. No, it was
Yes.
literally hunting dogs,
Oh, right
and
on.
like, squirrels or raccoons hopping from one tree to another, so then the dogs are barking up the wrong tree literally, so
When I read that one, I was
Fair.
like, "That yeah, that makes perfect sense." And like, I feel like I would have guessed that because once like whatever the dog was chasing is up the tree, they especially in any time other than winter when if there's leaves present, they're not going to be able to see them going to another tree.
yeah, I've never been hunting. I like to go fishing, but I've never been hunting, and I've certainly never been hunting with dogs like that, but I can imagine watching my dogs chase things in the backyard, it'd be pretty easy to lose an animal in the trees, so
Yeah, it's tough getting worked like a dog, right?
yeah.
Come on, Steve, story time. Quick side note.
What?
The- Who got worked like a dog?
Okay, so sitting there at family dinner for my birthday, and uh a 4-year-old was talking about swimming because we're doing this whole, like, if we go on a lake or by a pool, we want, if the kids fall in the pool, how to save themselves. So they're doing this thing where, like, you fall in, you jump in, and then you immediately land your back to float. And our 4-year-old's like, yeah, my teacher trains me like a dog. Interesting, but cool, like, I'm not sure where you're going with this, but they're like, it's an interesting connection you're making here. Like, oh yeah, he's like, yep, just like a dog. I went, well, how is it like a dog? It's like, well, she tells me to roll over, and then he starts cackling.
Perfect.
At 4,
But
he's
he would
already
actually roll over though.
yeah,
It's
yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
No, I like it. I
So
like it.
he's just equating the teacher saying roll over all the time to being treated like a dog. So, but he also
It
thought it was hilarious.
makes me laugh too because when would he have seen this? Like,
I
because
don't
you
know.
guys never taught your dogs to roll over.
No, never bothered. I did teach our one dog to do, the whole bit from Looney Tunes where it's like you have the speaking dog. It's like, "All right, what grows on trees?" And it barks. "What's on top of the house?" "Roof." Rough. "Who's the greatest baseball player of all time?" And the dog barks. He's like, "See, you said Ruth." He's like, "Get
Mm.
out of my office." And as they're walking away, the dog turns to the guy's like, "Maybe I should have said DiMaggio?" So, I taught my dog to bark whenever I do the 3 lines, but obviously never taught him to say DiMaggio, so
Fantastic. That's good.
didn't
I
teach him to
like it.
roll over, but I did teach him that bit to do with me places, so, uh All right. Bite the bullet.
Oh man, I have no.
To be fair, this one has a few potential backgrounds, so they don't know for sure, or it could be all three, like all two or three. So
I have no idea. I don't even want to guess.
I have an idea. So, as with how like if something painful, you're gonna have to do how they say to like bite down on a wooden spoon or something like that. But in wartime, if you get shot or something and it's hurting that way, do they give you like a bullet shell or something or
yeah,
something to bite down on?
that was kind of two of the theories. One, during wartime, back on the field before there was really, modern medical techniques, no anesthesia or anything like that. The soldiers undergoing battlefield surgery were given a bullet to bite down to avoid screaming, was one of the ideas. Or during a time when there was corporal punishment, bite down on the bullet while they're getting beaten or whatever, in the military. The other one, which I had thought about as well, only because going to like as a kid, we had this thing called oh, I can't remember what the name of it was now, but it was a festival where they'd go and show you how to load like old muskets at the park at the end of my street and like show you old time things like how to make rope and that sort of thing. And the when they're using the ball and they would show you how to make a pack of like there's the lead ball, the gunpowder to load in the old muskets, and it came in a little. You'd make your own little packets out of paper, and then bite the end with the bullet, rip it open, and then pour it in. And so that is the other potential origin of you bite the bullet. You had to bite into the packet to get it to load quickly while in wartime, back during the musket days. So those are the three
Interesting.
kind of theories there for that.
Okay. The last one I don't
Yeah,
fully understand because
I
the
don't
fact
either.
that typically when you're doing like biting the bullet, like it's because you just have to accept that something's gonna happen.
Yeah, I this is a theory into how it is used. I don't know. They said because it was a unpleasant task, getting like the gunpowder in your mouth and biting through the paper potentially is where their idea came from. But again, I think this is one of those that was said for a long time and they didn't necessarily know for sure. But logically, one of those two things is likely. But I agree, the biting the bullet to stop from screaming while in battle makes probably the most sense.
That makes sense to me. Those are intense scenes of TV shows too.
I go funny with it every time and immediately think back to Major Pain. He's like, "You want something to take your mind off that like bullet wound or whatever it was?" And he just breaks the guy's finger, so he's then screaming about his finger being in pain instead of being shot.
I haven't
But
seen Major Pain. I was probably a small child last time I saw
yes,
that movie.
yeah, it was definitely the '90s when I saw it last, but I still have that's like all I really remember from that. Because then he tries to like do that with the small child, and the love interest rushes in and stops him from doing it to the kid who's crying over like a lost toy or something like that.
That sounds like something. Is that where the "I'll give you something to cry about"? Is there any chance that that originated from that show
I
or something?
I think that's just
no,
like
I
an
think
asshole saying.
yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I don't think it has anything to do with that. I'm sure it's been around longer than
Because I never watched that. Was Major Payne? Was he actually like a decent person, or was he actually just a painful
he was like
person?
Eh,
a
yeah,
robot that was basically raised by the military. Like he was 100% military man who then
yeah.
grows a heart while having to work with these kids because he got in some trouble or something. I can't remember the whole story, but then
Mm.
there's the love interest and shows he's a real human. But through the
Yeah.
first part of it, you're supposed to see this robotic military by the book, don't care about any feelings or anything type of person. All right. Where we at on time here? Any ideas? We're doing all right?
Well, there's one I've been
Um,
waiting to bring back because we talked about it a little bit and it hasn't been talked about, but the nipping it in the butt.
Yeah.
Did you do any research on that one?
No, I told you to look at that one.
Oh, well, I did. So
Okay.
the nipping it in the butt, the word butt was never actually the thing. It's bud, and
Right.
it's
That's
well,
what
because
Kyle said.
that's what I was saying.
Yeah, and I was like, okay. And so nipping it in the bud. And would you care to elaborate more then? Because
Do you want
I'll
me to
give you
guess?
rightful.
I do not
Well,
know, but do you want me to? Does it
yeah.
have to do with the buds on plants and nipping them off?
Yep. And but why would you do that?
Because it promotes growth. They'll grow bigger if you take off the buds so they don't start sprouting flowers
or
or different things, or
or
to kill the dead part so it doesn't become
It's to
the
keep
disease
it
doesn't
like well
spread.
groomed so it doesn't become like an unruly plant. So you nip the
ah
buds and so then it grows in the way that you want it to be. So nipping in the butt so that something
wait,
happens as it
did
should.
did you think that it was actually nip it in the butt when I said that?
No, no, definitely not.
He thought it
I
was
feel
back to
I
his
feel like you did.
veterinary science days where the dogs are nipping at your butt while you're running away.
Right.
Um, I think
You're
we have a little more time.
robbing old tired never mind. Not funny.
Yeah. All right, quick one. Bigwig. Where do you think the bigwig comes from?
Well, that's
Oh,
got
I
to be
have an
like
idea.
old English something.
Yeah. That's what I'm thinking is the high and mighty people of old when they'd wear their powdered wigs.
Yeah, it was like the more important you were, the bigger your wig was, and so you were the bigwig.
They're the
Um,
big wig.
how about baker's dozen?
I know it means 13, but why is it 13? Like if
Oh,
you
is it
get
13? I didn't even know it
14
meant
to
13.
Yeah, 13. Uh, I don't know how old this goes back. It could be quite a far away, but there was a time where bakers were severely punished for baking underweight loaves of bread. And so to show that they were really above suspicion that their bread was of weight, they started throwing in an extra loaf to make sure that they weren't accused of being underweight. And so now it has become just a thing that bakeries do because you expect when you order a dozen of something, you're eating a baker's dozen or 13 of them.
just
Interesting.
so they can show you that you're getting like a fair quantity.
I mean, early on, it was just to avoid punishment because I guess according to this, like it was quite severe if you were ripping people off back. And I don't even know, it didn't even specify like where this was occurring. I'm not know if we're talking like ancient early agriculture, if we're talking in England or something like that back in Victorian or medieval times, but whatever it was, obviously this was an issue where people were ripping people off, and they decided we're gonna do something to you in public or who knows what if you're ripping people off. So everybody just started throwing in extra to avoid that suspicion.
Punishment for cheating and stealing seemed a lot more harsh
Yeah, back
back
in the days
in
when you'd
like
lose a hand
the
or
old
something.
English. Yeah. Yep.
Uh,
Yeah.
here's an interesting one. Break the ice. You're not going to get this one at all, so I'll
I
just tell
was
you
gonna say
this
I have
one.
Okay,
no
so
idea.
because you break the
Suppo-
ice with someone to get to actually know them more for
it's
what.
yeah, to avoid that awkward early on, like we're just going to get out here,
Yeah.
put ourselves out there, and get to know each other, sort of thing.
So you
Um,
break the ice. I'm assuming, does that have something to do with like some kind of old timey decoration thing like had like a
no,
hidden secret
not at
underneath it?
all. Nothing like that.
All right, tell
You're
us then.
way off.
Okay.
No. So at least in areas where
It's
there'd be freezing, uh, when ships were coming in with goods, the country that was receiving the goods would send out an ice breaking ship to meet them and break the ice to allow the ship come into port and deliver those goods. And so
oh,
since they came out to meet them out away
Yeah.
from land and they were breaking the ice, they started using that as getting to meet someone.
ah.
That makes sense.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
like that. I just love how you reacted to my thought. And it was
But
equivalent to, look at this idiot. Why
I
would
had to
he ever think that?
I had to use it at least once in this where I'm having you guys guess and not putting myself out there at all. I had to make sure. Um, hat trick.
I have no
You know what a
idea.
hat trick is, correct?
I mean,
I
where
know
you get
I
three
do.
of,
3 goals, yeah.
yeah.
I don't know where that would come from.
Uh, so it is actually from cricket, and a bowler who took 3 wickets in successive deliveries was given a new hat by the club. And so you actually got a hat for doing this. It was a hat trick.
So, but we can
There should be
just because
more
I don't know cricket. Are you knowledgeable in the game now?
No, not really. I'm pretty sure the bowler is the one throwing the ball.
Okay.
and you're, I believe, trying to hit the wickets or the post behind them, but I do not understand enough of it to like that as much as I'm putting myself out here for this. I've tried to watch cricket and struggled to understand what's going on
Yeah,
and
it's
given up.
tough.
So,
It's tough.
how about cat out of the bag?
No clue. Don't let the cat out of the bag. It's something to do with veterinary days or old practices of treating cats, or
My thought, does it have to do something with the old thought of the unlucky black cat, and so you keep them concealed to?
No. No.
All right,
This
how far
was
off are we?
this was supposedly back to the days where people were sold piglets in bags, and sometimes people would put a cat in there to try to make it feel like there was a piglet in there, take the money and run. And so you let the cat out of the bag and you're exposed for being a thief because cats were not worth as much as piglets, supposedly.
Well, I mean, I guess that's fair.
Yeah. All right. I think we're coming up on time here a little bit. So we'll just go through two more real quick, hands down. And I don't think you'll get this because I wouldn't have like had any guesses on this whatsoever. But a jockey in horse racing during the mid 1800s, if they were way ahead and beating everybody, they could put their hands down and relax as they coasted in. So they won hands down.
like an
Oh,
easy win.
Yeah.
Yep.
This one you may know, riding shotgun. Do you know what that's from?
no.
I don't.
Stagecoaches back in the West when they were being robbed frequently, there'd be the person sitting next to the driver with a shotgun to try to protect the stagecoach. So it's riding shotgun.
So that makes sense.
Oh,
Yeah.
nice.
See,
Yeah.
that's one thing I do love a lot about these phrases is once you elaborate on what it actually means, like it makes perfect sense for a majority of them.
Bury the hatchet.
I mean, come to time of peace, like you're bearing the weapons that you fight with.
Yeah, that makes sense.
It was symbolic. 17th century English and Native Americans would bury hatchets and knives as a mark of a peace agreement. And last one, where's the word goodbye come from?
Oh, that goodbye? That's not an idiom.
I mean, you're saying bye to someone and wishing them well.
It is a contraction of the words "God be with ye," and it just shortened down over time to goodbye.
God,
I'm gonna investigate that one. That seems far. That seems like a lot of ties pulling in together.
Uh,
It's interesting.
Yeah, it's certainly contingency deduction if
Yeah.
it is, but there you go.
I'm a smarter man now.
Yeah.
I feel good. I'm gonna go let the cat out of the bag and share these with my kids.
I feel the way you use that, I feel like that you meant you were about to go use the bathroom, but
There's other idioms. There's other idioms for that.
Take the Browns to the Super Bowl.
Yeah. There you go.
Drop the kids off at the pool.
All right, that's enough of that.
We're familiar, Brad.
Yeah. Anything you have anything to add other than just being gross at this point, or can we close it up here?
Goodbye.
All right. Well, thanks for joining us, everyone. It's a highly knowledgeable, super scientific episode that we've just gone over with you all. Try to enjoy yourselves out there. Look to the bright side of life. Try to see the good in the world, the happy things, and just concentrate on the good because it will make you a happier person. And just be careful because you never know when you're going around knocking on trees and you knock on the wrong one and the evil spirits come out and just take off with you.
Yeah, watch out for that.
Just
100%.
Just be careful out there.
Or bees nest or wasps.
You're still gonna blame that on the evil spirits. Come on.
Animal spirits.